Hi, this is Joachim Kans, the singer of Hammerfall, and you're watching CMS TV.
We were killing for the people, we were killing for the state. We were killing just to kill it, and we did it out of hate. We were killing for the innocent, and you can catch a breath, and the motherfucker cries out. There was bodies in the garden, there were bodies on the street. There was guns begging pardon, and the body at my feet. We were killing for the innocent, and you can catch a breath, and the motherfucker cries out. Don't break my concentration, don't break my back in two. One steady hand fixation, one complete all over you. I am the surgeon, I am the face of fear. I cut your dreams away, I long to hold you near. I am the surgeon, I never shed a tear. I am the surgeon, and I long to hold you near.
And we are back. That, of course, was Overkill, brand new stuff from Scorched. That one was called The Surgeon. And here's the surgeon of all that is thrash metal, Mr. Bobby Blitz Ellsworth. Bobby.
Might I say to you, hello from the gutter?
Hello!
That wasn't a very good impersonation, Erik.
I'll work on it, sir.
I give that like a 4.5 off of the high board.
Welcome, my friend. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Chris, I remember, I think the last time we talked, we were just a stone's throw from Bourbon Street and the Big Easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
A couple of years ago, right? 2020.
Could be, man. Well, I'll tell you what, Bobby. Let's talk Scorched. Another killer record. A little bit different than you've been doing, but at the same time, Overkill is Overkill. An Overkill record, while it has changes, it's not like you open it up and you get a rap record. It is always what it is, man.
You know what it did to me right now when I just heard it? It made me go, That's how kick-ass it was.
Warmed him up.
I think that you hit it on the head. I mean, obviously there's some diversity here, but and we like to push the parameters, but I mean, we are what we are. Or was it Popeye? I am what I am. That's all that I am.
That's right.
And it's, I mean, it's kind of cool that I suppose this many years later, there's a couple things you depend on, that the taxes are going to go up. You're not going to know what the fucking politics are, but an Overkill record is going to have some thrash on it,
That's right. Exactly. And this one definitely does, man. I love it. It's so, you really, and I don't want to say it like you were bad and then you're good, because I love the band. But I would say, quite honestly, from about 97 to now is like kind of the second phase of Overkill. Like there's the early phase, and then there's like from the underground and below up, which is just been menacing. And not only is it menacing, but it's on such a regular pattern, which I love. I love the fact that every 2 years I get a new record, man. That's just perfect.
I think that's a good take on it. I mean, I've always looked at the band that it happened in kind of phases. There was that first phase. The Megaforce, the early Megaforce days with Bobby Gustafson and Rat Skates, the early members of the band, the early formation of the band. And that went to like the years of decay, and then the 90s happened and shit happened and people started changing. And then somewhere again by, I suppose, one of my favorite records being The Underground and Below, which is 97, we caught wings again, and it just felt right, that we were making cohesive type records, something that, when I was 15, I wanted to hear a Black Sabbath record. I needed 45 minutes to hear that record. I didn't want to just hear Children of the Grave. I wanted to go start, finish all the way through the whole fucking platter. And that's what I kind of felt that the Underground and Below offered, and it became kind of a new template for us from that point on. Let's write entire records as opposed to songs.
Right on. And one of the other things, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm not. I think the consistency in the lineup has really helped you. The first period, there's a lot of guys that came in and out of Overkill. The last 22 years, there's been one guy that's left. Unless I'm mistaken, there's only been Jason coming into the band in 17, 18, whenever that was. The rest of the guys have been with you since 99, right? 2000?
Yeah, I mean, Dave Lynch is, he's really the longest standing guitar player. It's 24 years,
Right.
99, you're 100% right. That's a Necroshine record. Actually, Sebastian Marino, who's recently passed, was the guitar player in Necroshine, and Dave walked in and did Overkill, which was the next. But I mean, it kind of works because none of those guys speak English and they all owe me money, so I'm in charge and fuck them. You know what I'm saying? It is a good lineup, and obviously to be able to say something like that, that's because we do have a good time doing this. This many years later, it's still like middle-aged, older boys club kind of a thing, rolling dice, smoking Cuban cigars.
Sure. Now let's dig into Scorched a little bit because it was different for you. Obviously, it's probably the longest amount of time you've ever had to write a record because everybody had a lot of time to write or sit home or do whatever. And you're not a guy to sit home and do whatever. You're a guy to make metal. So talk a little bit about, writing this record. Cause from what I read anyway, I read that it was quite different for you as far as having the time, which left you a lot more time to tinker and dig a little deeper into each of the songs.
Well, a bunch of it was for sure. The direction was formed prior to the pandemic, I had the demo, I think probably a week after you and I talked the last time, because that was like somewhere in March of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and the direction was there. It was skeletal, but it was there. And, Dee Dee and I kept talking. I'm like, man, I could go in and record this tomorrow. This was months after, I had this demo. But I said, if we're not going to tour it, what's the sense? I mean, that's our visibility is being on stage and transferring this from pressing play to seeing it and feeling it live. So we both agreed, and that gave us that extra time to tinker. But primarily, it gave me the extra time because Jason had done the drums by that June of 2020.
Okay.
And the guitars started becoming layered, and Dee Dee was adding bass, and we were changing some shit here and there. But fuck, man, I had 3.5 years to mess with this. Or, well, maybe not 3.5 years, but 2 3/4 years to mess with this record. And I think, the results kind of speak for themselves because it was, it was a go-to in the pandemic. It was just this, kind of a cool place to go that seemed normal when all this abnormality was raging around.
Right.
And everybody who's watching and, both of you guys.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, the normal and the abnormal. So I think the results are something a little bit different because, you raise the bar in the heavy metal and then you put some blues in there and then, this is happening and rock and roll's happening. And I've always said, if somebody says, Overkill's a one-trick pony, I'm like, you're not listening.
Yeah. Right.
It's not true. I mean, there is blues and there is rock and roll and there is traditional metal and there is progressive thrash and traditional thrash and groove. But I think that in this case, we had to raise the bar, to push the parameters, to make it just a little bit different than we would have in the past.
Right.
It's evolved a lot, like especially sonically. Like I took a trip back to the Megaforce early days today, watching some live stuff, listen to the first albums and such, just getting refamiliarized with it. And then when what Chris just played me right now, I was like, holy shit. I mean, that just sounds like a whole new world. You guys have really evolved, and it just sounded amazing what he just played me, I have to say.
That's a great compliment. One of the things that I like about this record, or, it might be my take on it, is that, the production quality on it it's from two eras. It's from the current day, and it's also from the days gone by. So like when you're putting this record on and it opens with the song Scorched and you hear this, kind of lone guitar introduction, it's reminiscent of something in the 80s. And then when everything kicks in, you get this modern kind of a drum punch with, really cool old school room resonance and then a scooped guitar. So it's like, It's kind of like listening to 1985, but sitting in 2023 doing it.
But
so
your voice sounds so good on it.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was the greatest fucking thing when Colin Richardson and Chris Clancy started messing with these, with these tracks. I was like, oh my God, they're creating like duality here,
Right.
Audio duality. And I was really impressed with where they were going with it.
Right. Well, Colin's amazing. I mean, Colin is absolutely, he's the surgeon, really, because that guy is an absolute master. The other guy you worked with, too, that you didn't mention that I think is the best in the business today is Mayor Applebaum. his mixes are fucking incredible on everything he does. Great choice working with him, man.
Well, he's been he's been on our radar for a long time. Mayor's, I would say he's a friend even before, somebody that we worked with professionally. I remember running into him in NAMM years ago, and him following me around going, I want to do an Overkill record. I want to do it. I'm going, yeah, stop bothering me, kid. Get the fuck out of here. Go get me a beer.
Beat it, kid. Scram.
Yeah, get off my fucking lawn. But I think that he was the right choice. And Colin, we didn't know we were going to need a mastering engineer, and then Colin says, "No, I don't master this. I use Mayor." And
okay.
we were like, "Fuck." Well, I said, "This is the time. This is the time to to break into that end of working with somebody new." And I think he did a great job for it too. It's a record you can listen to at really loud levels without tiring your ears out, which is huge, man. I mean, it's like sometimes I go, that is the heaviest shit I ever heard. And after 3 songs, I'm like, I gotta take a break. I'm gonna I'm gonna have a coronary.
Yeah.
My eardrums are on the ground. But I think that these guys really did, especially Colin, and then handing it over to Mayor was just fantastic.
No, it is. And one of the things that's interesting when you listen to it, I listen to it a few different ways. More just because not because I'm some audiophile douchebag, but because in one room I had the speaker, another room I had headphones. So I kind of listened to it both ways. In the headphones, you can hear a lot of nuanced stuff, especially in the drums. But on a big speaker, it doesn't get all bricked and cloudy like it does a lot of, like most records do. And that's a testament to what they were doing. But it's also a testament to you guys doing your parts extremely well and extremely clean this time.
Yeah, good pickup. We always call those little nuances the ear candy, and it was one of the, it's one of the things that you don't want to lose. You want to give it almost 2 faces,
sure.
To some degree. You want that loudspeaker live kind of a vibe going on, but you also want, when you put those cans on, you want to be able to hear even the little fucking shit like the church bells in the background, or, the cello comes in, or here comes the fucking monk choir, and so talk about fucking tinkering. It was almost like to the point of boredom. We're throwing everything. Where's the chainsaw? Get me that microphone.
Is that a cat I heard? Meow.
Grab my fucking Harley and squeeze that cat.
Get out of here.
There you go. Nice. Well, Blitz, I want to come back to the consistency part for a minute, because in addition to the consistency of the lineup and the music and what you write and how you write, you guys have been really consistent with the artwork the past few records. You have a very distinct style. It's Travis Smith, who's great. And, I never heard the story how you came upon him and, what leads you to keep using him.
I can't remember how we came upon him. It was all the way back at Necroshine. I wasn't feeling too good during that particular part of my life. It was stone cold sober, and I was kind of fighting for another record with a medical kind of a situation.
Okay.
I think probably Dee Dee found him, or it might have even been the guys. It might have been Warrell Dane and Jim Shepard from Nevermore that turned us on to him, because they were on the road with us for the Underground and Below, and we liked that Nevermore cover. I remember that for sure. But I attribute that whole thing. I don't have like an artistic long view on things. It's pretty simple for me. I'm like, man, that needs a little more chrome, or no, let's fucking dump some of the chrome on that. There's my artistic long view.
Make it green.
Hey?
Right. Make it green.
Make it green. Make it green. That works. But I attribute his success to, in many cases, the fact that we don't get in his way anymore. That he has this, he's the true artist and the true illustrator here. We handed him a piece of, ancient Greek mythology, the Eurobus, the snake eating its own tail. We said, what about this? As like a start. And he started messing with it. And then he came up with these 2 demons facing each other. Are they saying, let's get the fuck out of here? Are they saying, fuck you? Or are they saying, is it conflict? Is it fear? And the fact that I didn't even know when looking at it what he was trying to convey, but it conveyed, 4 or 5, 6 different things in my head. I said, he's onto it again. This fucking
Right.
guy is onto it again. So when we picked that particular illustration, we said, we got to make this more overkill. The name Scorched came in. The guys voted it. I wanted Twisted the Wick. They wanted Scorched. And, I was like, all right, I guess that's 4-1. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And, started out in the fire, and it looks like something that should be framed on a wall,
Right.
Not in a monastery, but for sure in a heavy metal, listening room.
Right. Definitely, man. Well, dude, obviously, man, the bread and butter of Overkill is touring. So I'm sure you have a year's worth in the pipeline. So what are we looking at this year?
Hold on, let me check this. Okay, we're good.
Exactly.
I keep looking at you, Erik. I keep looking at you with that gun over your shoulder, man, and I keep thinking that it's like
It's pointed at Chris. He
Pointed
says
at
bad
me,
things
so I ask
about
good
cats all the
questions.
time. He's
who
always
is
talking
that? Is
shit
that
about
like
cats.
who
I
is
love
that?
cats. So this gun tonight is pointed at Chris. For he says anything bad about cats, that's my Italian grandma, and she's gonna.
He
fuck
came
the cat.
close. He came close.
Yeah.
We just talked about the cat.
That's
right.
There you go.
The touring starts on the 13th in Europe. We're taking Exhorter
Nice.
and Heathen.
Wow.
So it's going to be an American jaunt over through Europe, approximately a month. We're looking at the U.S. At the end of June into July.
Okay.
Then the festivals. I think we're doing Blue Ridge in Virginia. We're doing
I'm doing that too.
Hey,
I'm gonna do Blue Ridge also. That's like the biggest festival in the U.S. or something, right? It's like the most bands, I think, or something that happens in a couple day period. But I don't know if we're playing the same day. But I
He
play
plays
for
with
Stephen
Pierce.
Piercy.
He plays
from
with
Rat.
Stephen Piercy.
Right.
Blitz.
oh, that's
So
awesome.
I think we're gonna be there too.
Oh, that's going to be cool. Yeah, I mean, it's September, right? It's
Yes.
It's September. I heard there's no like air. It's in Virginia, but it's like you can fly. Like the closest airport is South Carolina. I'm like, bro,
Oh,
that's
great.
a and a half away. But we're doing that. There's some stuff over in Europe. Then we're going to run the whole gauntlet again. I mean, it's always a double run for us.
Sure.
A double dip to Europe and the U.S. Try to compact it. I mean, we did these old guy. Do the work before the tours, then go out and roll those dice and, drink some 12-year-old scotch and, have some decent fun. We don't get to spend that much time together anymore. So it's still kind of really positive for us to go out there and, I don't know, just like, just start the fucking machine up, change the oil and just say, God
Sure.
damn it, that motor is still running.
Right. Now, are you doing any of the big ones this year? You doing Vakken or Sweden Rock or any of those or?
No, we're not. We did Wacken last year. We did a couple of them last year. But we're not doing Hellfest. We're not doing Sweden Rock. Sweden Rock's honestly is not that big. People just love it because of how cool it is. I mean,
Okay.
you've probably been there, Erik. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's just in the
We
middle
don't
of
get to
nowhere.
go to Europe that
I wear a
much.
jacket during the day, but
Nice.
it's just a great festival. So we did Wacken last year, and we did a couple of other things last year. We're doing one in the UK called Manor Fest. I guess there'll be probably half a dozen of them over the summer, and then by September we'll be at Blue Ridge, and then gearing up to either go back to Europe, South America, or the US.
Where is the Overkill audience biggest? Is it overseas or is it here?
Right here in this fucking computer. That's where it is. I mean,
We're the
All
last
three
two,
of us.
Chris.
Come on.
I honestly, it's always hard to tell because there's no tangible product anymore. You have to look at it
Right.
with regard to streaming. So it's not like, the streaming in, this part of Germany. I'm sure somebody could give me those numbers, but it was always pretty even when it came to Europe and the US. But the US always had like a bigger kind of a pull for us. And that's,
Okay.
I think it's, it's obviously based on population. I mean, all of Western Europe doesn't equal all of the United States. I mean, there are just tons of people on the East and the West Coast here, and even in the South, Texas, et cetera, the big cities. So it's always been the U.S. for us that I think that we can do bigger shows. And we're not like, we're like a House of Blues band, but there's some areas, that we go. I mean, Jersey, we can do 2,500 people in a theater. You know, I mean, and that's a good thing. We're trying to end at Asbury Park this summer. That's Bruce Springsteen territory. They have an outside venue. It holds 5K. You know, I mean, obviously, I don't know if we could do 5K in our own, but I mean, we would need good support, for instance, to do something like that. So I still think the U.S. is probably the bread and butter for us.
Right on. Now, I got to ask you about one guy that you work with on occasion, because everybody works with him on occasion, Phil Demmel. And I mean, he's obviously great. You know, I mean, he's an unbelievable player, and he can play a lot of instruments. But how do you approach somebody like that? You know, he's kind of everybody's Swiss Army knife, so to speak. Lamb of God needs him for a gig, he's there. You guys need him for a week of shows, he's there. You know, how does that even work? Do you call him and say, hey, here's 15 songs that you need to know, and he learns them long term or over a weekend, or how does that work?
Well, I lend him money and then I hold it over his fucking head. That's what I mean.
Nice.
You paying me, or you going out in the fucking road? I mean, he's a great dude. I met him through the Metal Allegiance guys. I mean, I got into the Metal Allegiance thing because of Mark Mengy. He's just an absolute pain in my fucking ass, and that's the only reason I joined. I mean, the guy just continuously busted my balls on and on. But I mean, I knew a bunch of the other dudes that were there. I knew Gary Holt. I knew the Testament dudes and Mike Portnoy. And Demmel came in, you know, and it was just, you know, Mengy and I were talking one day about doing this thing called BPMD, which turned into BPMD. And it was like cover songs of the 70s, you know. So we're covering Aerosmith or Screaming Teddy out of Motor City Madman. And, you know, some of the shit I grew up with, you know, I was doing some Cactus and Mountain. I mean, I was having a fucking time in my life. But Demmel seemed like the right guy for it, you know. So that's where Phil and I have like the relationship is from doing those covers. And we still do stuff. We still even record together, you know, to this day. 70s stuff, 80s stuff, just for a kick, you know, something you can throw in the can and make a record. But I think you hit the nail on the head. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He's you know, you can apply him to many different situations and he can fit in perfectly. So when we came out of that, you know, Peter pandemic, you know, just like panic because we had one of our dudes just couldn't make it. I was like, yeah, no problem. Send a list. I was like, done.
How long in advance did you give him the list? Was it weeks or days or what?
It was about 35 minutes.
Oh, come on.
Oh, what? No.
It was about 6 weeks.
Okay, so that's plenty of time.
And we flew him into Jersey. We actually did a place called the Wellmont Theater in Montclair, New Jersey. That was a makeup show, but it was like right when Peter pandemic was, you know, starting to not show his face anymore. So we got into that show and we had some guys with some vax issues. Right. And, you know, Phil was like, I'll do it. And so we already had rehearsed with Phil for this one show. And when we had the same issue come up with the tour, it was just a quick call. And he's like, yeah, he goes, let me just clear it at home, talk to the family and make sure that we have no family plans. And I'll be there. And that's the way it worked out.
Very cool, man.
Well, the family plans are paying the family's bills, I would assume.
Lend him money and hold it over his head, right?
That's it.
Works every time.
That's it.
Is he really a biker?
Nice. Well, Blitz, I got to ask you this one question. It has nothing to do with music, but it's something that I just stumbled across and I know nothing about that you're involved in, or maybe not anymore. Are you still doing the chocolate business?
No, that was that was sold about 2015.
Okay.
I was married to a really nice European woman, a Dutch woman. But apparently I like divorce better than marriage in many cases. So I've done enough.
So no more chocolate.
I only like to say that just to humor the whole thing. But she was, it was a business we started here when she immigrated here.
Okay.
In 2004. And I had 2 brick and mortars with her between 2004 and 2015. A place called Nyack, New York, which is right in the Hudson River, real eclectic little village. And one called Newton, New Jersey, which is about 15 miles from my house. And they went mad. I mean, it was a Dutch girl in a European chocolate shop selling Dutch chocolate. I mean, it was nothing more authentic in the area.
Right. Somehow I can't see you standing over a pot with a thing just churning up some chocolate.
Bro, I can tell you, you could look at the books, right? And you could see whenever I was in the store because, you know, would you make up your fucking mind and $40 a pound just don't go together? So you can just watch the revenue go.
Right down to nothing.
I was behind the scenes very soon after.
You were a silent partner. That's what.
Silent partner. Correct.
Nice. Well, Blitz, I'll tell you what, man, the new album is fantastic. It's called Scorched. When is it out officially? When does it officially hit?
It's the 14th of April.
Okay, so a couple weeks.
There's some other metal band releasing that day. Some San Francisco band. I don't know.
That's if they have any money left from buying Scorched, right? They can buy that. They can buy that one.
Somebody goes to me, "You're releasing the same day as Metallica." I said, "Put them up, motherfucker."
Right, dude. That might be a good day because there's already people buying. There's already people.
Why not? I mean, shit. I mean, I know we're not going to do the same amount, but I mean, it'd be great to be compared to them on such a day.
It would make sense if, like, Amazon or something said people that bought this are also buying this.
That would be great. I think that would be a great thing.
That would make sense. So
it's the 14th of April. So just a couple more weeks. The production video's done. You know, we're doing press up the wazoo.
Sure.
I got a couple of these steam yards. I got Don Jameson coming up. My press girl's like, "Yeah, I got Don Jameson at 7 a.m. I said, "Who the fuck wants to wake up with Don Jameson?"
Nice.
And I'm going to tell him that when I get on the air with him tomorrow.
Hell yeah. That's good stuff. Well, dude, where should we tell people to go to pre-order the record or buy it? And if there's vinyls, all that stuff.
You can get it at nuclearblast.com. You can order the green and the black vinyl there, some double gate folds, etc. There's going to be a cassette that we actually did a layout for. I mean, more of a novelty, obviously. But it will play if you have one of those old cassette players. CDs, downloads through there. And, of course, all the other outlets, the Amazons. I mean, you put Overkill Scorched release in there, man, the whole page is just
right.
You know, so Nuclear Blast is probably the best way that helps us directly. But
what about merch, Bobby? What about merch like the badass Overkill shirts? You guys always have the most badass shit.
Well, you can get it at wreckingcrew.com, which is ours, or you can follow links to what's called JSR Direct. They're out of New Hampshire. They handle all of our online sales. You would go there anyway, even after ours. Overseas, it's a company called Merchland out of Germany that handles it. So we're pretty set up on both ends. There's a whole bunch of great stuff coming out. I mean, but I'll tell you, you know, when you look at an album cover like what you see on Scorch, and I remember we're talking about Travis before, and I looked at it. I'm talking with Dee Dee, and we're both looking at it, and I go, "Great fucking T-shirt, man!"
Nice. Awesome. Well, one more time, man. The album is called Scorched. It is Overkill. And Bobby, I figured we would wrap this one up with the lyric video for Wicked Place. So maybe why don't you tell us a quick story about that song to wrap it up?
Well, you know, I mean, we talked about the diversity of the record, and, you know, and we also just talked about doing 70s songs with Phil Demmel. And one of the things I first felt when I heard this, I heard the original riff, and I got on the phone with Dee Dee, and I'm like, man, it's like fucking Foghat on steroids. I was singing this in the shower when I was like 14. You know, it's just that thick blues ride that takes you kind of to another era. And it was so funny because somebody asked me when we were doing interviews, they're like, "What about Wicked Place?" I said, "How does a metal band do a big fat blues ride like that?" I said, if you were interviewing Ozzy in 1972, he would tell you he was in a blues band, not a heavy metal band. So I think that it comes from that era, and something I'm really proud of because it reflects my youth and reflects my influence. So here we go. Take that blues ride, Wicked Place.
All right. Well, here we go. From Scorched, it is Wicked Place. And Bobby, thanks so much for joining us once again on Chris Akin Presents.
Good fun, boys. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
See you, man.